The roast chicken had gone cold, but no one seemed to notice. My mother, Linda Monroe, was smiling her practiced smile as she poured wine into mismatched glasses, like the whole thing was spontaneous. My father, Richard, carved the meat with his usual precision, each slice laid out like he was on stage. My cousin Jessica laughed too loud at something Uncle Tom said. Brianna, my younger sister, giggled in response, twirling her hair around her finger like she was still 16. No one looked at me. That had become normal. I hadn't planned to sit. My plate was still empty, the seat beside it untouched. I'd arrived on time, but I stayed standing at the edge of the dining room just far enough not to cast a shadow over their warmth. I wasn't hungry anyway. Then it came. "We were thinking," my father said between bites, "maybe Brianna could stay with you for a while, just until she finds her footing." A few people chuckled. Jessica actually clapped. "She's already been there a few days," my mother added, sipping from her glass like she wasn't saying anything at all. Might as well make it official. She winked as if she'd just said something clever. I looked across the table, not at them, but at the space where I used to sit, where my place used to be. I could feel it tightening in my chest. Every unanswered message, every skipped moment, every time they asked me to be patient, to understand, to be the bigger person, while Brianna got the excuses and the benefit of the doubt. I was supposed to carry the family's weight quietly. Again. I ran my fingers across the back of the chair, not hers, mine, and tapped once on the wood. "Funny thing," I said, keeping my voice low, letting it stretch across their noise. "I haven't even lived there for 6 weeks." Laughter froze in mid-air. A fork slipped from someone's hand and clattered against a plate. My mother blinked, setting her glass down. "Wait. What?" she asked. I looked at her. Really looked not like a daughter. Looks at her mother, but like a stranger trying to understand how they ended up in the wrong house. She tilted her head slightly. "Where have you been staying?" I smiled just enough. "Not wide. Just enough to say I'm done playing the role you wrote for me." 6 weeks earlier, my apartment still felt like mine. Neutral walls, dim lighting. Quiet, not because it was empty, but because it had taken years to make it so. I'd built that silence, fought for it, paid for it with ramen dinners and 4 a.m. coding contracts. Then came the knock. It was almost midnight. I opened the door to find Brianna Mascara smeared breath-hitching arms full of 3 chaotic-looking bags and a 4th flung over her shoulder like she was arriving for a weekend getaway. "Zach cheated on me," she said without a hello. "Can you believe it? I didn't answer." "I just need a few days," she added quickly. "Just to breathe." Of course I let her in. That's what I'd always done. I was the older sister, the reliable one, the one who didn't let people sleep in their cars or cry alone in the dark. By day 2, she'd moved into my bedroom, without asking. She called the sheets sad beige and replaced them with pink floral ones. Her curling iron was on the bathroom counter, her phone charger plugged into my nightstand. I was on the couch, arms folded, laptop balanced on my knees, pretending I didn't feel displaced. Then came the voices. Friends I didn't know. Laughter that echoed too long in the hallway. Wine glasses left out. High heels abandoned by the front door like some kind of signal this space is no longer yours. By the end of week 1, she threw a party. It was the Friday I had a Zoom pitch one that could have secured me a senior lead role on an AI project I'd been quietly chasing for half a year. I had rehearsed my lines, polished my screen, double-checked every visual. I asked her just once, "Please keep it quiet until noon." She promised. Instead, I logged into Cardi B, blasting from the kitchen, and someone yelling body shots behind me. My screen froze on the worst frame imaginable, me with my face in my hands. The call dropped. When I got back online, it was over. No contract, no follow-up. That night, I pulled Brianna aside. Calmly. Measured. "Brianna, this isn't working. I need you to find somewhere else." She didn't look up from her phone. "God, you're always so dramatic," she muttered. I stared at her. "You cost me a $20,000 contract." She rolled her eyes. Well, maybe they didn't want someone who can't even control her own apartment. And right there, I saw it. Not just who she was, but what she thought of me. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I didn't even curse when I packed my laptop into its sleeve and stared at the blinking cursor of an empty inbox. No contract, no apology. Just quiet failure. Brianna had already moved on. That night, I found her painting her toenails in my bedroom. Her feet were propped on my pillows. I stepped back into the hallway and closed the door. Then I called my parents. My father, Richard, answered on the second ring. "She's going through a lot right now, Catherine. Breakups are messy. She's costing me my career," I said. "She's hosting parties in my apartment, selling my privacy for group selfies." He sighed. "You know how she is." I tried my mother, Linda, next. Her voice was light, like she already knew what I was calling about. "She's your sister," she said gently, like that explained everything. "She just needs time. You've always been so good at managing things." That was the end of it. No one asked what I needed. No one asked if I was okay. The air in the apartment felt thinner after that. I stood by the kitchen window for a long time. Outside, the street was still. A man walked his dog. A bus hummed past. Somewhere in the hallway, someone laughed. Not Brianna, someone else. The world was moving. Mine had stopped. I packed a single bag, laptop, wallet, charger, a sweater. I left the key on the counter next to an empty wine glass I hadn't used. I didn't write a note. I didn't say goodbye. The door closed behind me without a sound. Alex, a college friend who owed me nothing but offered everything, had a couch and no judgment. That was enough. I told him it'd be a few days. I didn't count. And the days passed. 1, then 3, then 10, then 3 weeks. Not a single text. Not a single missed call. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji from my mother. Just silence. It didn't sting. Not in the way I expected. It didn't feel like exile. It felt like proof evidence of something I'd always suspected but never wanted to believe. They didn't notice I was gone. Not because I wasn't loved necessarily, but because I had always been the one who didn't need checking on. The one who handled things. The one who made space for other people's messes and quietly swept around the edges. And maybe after so many years of being the strong one, I'd disappeared right in front of them, and they'd taught themselves not to see it. Alex didn't ask questions. That's what I appreciated most. He had a small studio in Capitol Hill, just enough space for 2 coffee mugs and a couch that creaked when I turned. But it was quiet. And no one slammed doors. No one asked me to make room for them. I told him I was between things. He nodded and offered a spare pillow. I expected to feel guilty, to miss something. But the guilt never came. The only thing I missed was peace, and now I had it. 3 weeks in, I started counting backwards. No texts, no calls. No "where are you" from my mother. No check-in from Richard, even though he had access to my calendar for holidays. Not even Brianna, living in my apartment, bothered to ask why I hadn't come home. Silence like that doesn't hurt when you've already heard its echo for years. It confirms what's been humming beneath everything. I was the invisible daughter. The footnote. The background. Brianna was the storm. I was the shelter no one thanked. She'd been caught shoplifting in high school. My father blamed the store. I got straight A's in calculus. He told me to push harder. I had no debt by 24, paid for school with double shifts, learned Python before it became popular. And no one came to my graduation. They missed that too. Everything I'd built had come without applause. And maybe I had accepted that, mistaking absence of praise for strength. Mistaking silence for pride. But 6 weeks without a single message, that wasn't strength. That was erasure. One Thursday afternoon, I went back. Just once. I didn't knock. The key was still on my ring. Brianna wasn't home. Her pink sneakers were by the door. A trail of glittered makeup bags and shopping receipts led through the hallway. Her perfume hung in the air, sweet, too sweet. It smelled like lies. I walked through slowly, like I was touring a crime scene that had once been my life. My clothes were gone. My guitar was gone. My office desk moved into the hallway. In its place, a ring light, a tripod, and a cheap backdrop that read "Breeze Place" in cursive vinyl letters. My grandmother's watch gone. The living room was hers now. Not borrowed. Owned. Before I left, I placed a small motion-detecting camera behind the bookshelf. It would trigger only on movement or voice, silent and visible, like I'd been. Then I locked the door behind me, for the last time. 3 days later, I downloaded the first batch of footage. It was worse than I expected. Brianna didn't just treat the apartment like a crash pad. She treated it like a brand. My bookshelf had been rearranged into a backdrop. My coffee table was now a prop. My walls were filled with LED lights and filters that turned everything pink and artificial. She threw parties, laughed on camera, filmed sponsored skincare videos using my mirror. But that wasn't the worst of it. She started selling things. I watched her lift my guitar mahogany, something I'd bought after my first freelance bonus, and pose with it like it was hers. Then she boxed it up. I heard her say into her phone, "Yeah, it's basically new. He barely used it. I'll throw in the stand." She smiled as the buyer handed her cash. Next came the gaming monitor I'd saved for 6 months to buy. My noise-canceling headphones, my Bluetooth speaker. My grandmother's watch wasn't on the footage, but I saw her rifling through my drawer, lifting something small, then slipping it into her purse without looking back. Then came the envelope. A neighbor had complained to the HOA about her parties. She forged a response under my name. Same slant in the R, same curl in the E. She copied my handwriting with practiced ease, signing off like it meant nothing. It took everything in me not to slam the laptop shut. Instead, I timestamped each clip, saved them into a shared drive, wrote a simple, calm email to Mr. Jenkins, my landlord. I attached the footage, listed the missing items, and stated the truth. My apartment had been unlawfully occupied for 6 weeks. I hadn't been living there. I had not given permission. I had not signed anything. I didn't hear back right away. But a week later, I received the reply. Brianna had been notified. She was to vacate immediately. No negotiation, no appeal. That night, my phone lit up like a storm. Her name, then my mother's, then my father's. Missed call, voicemail, text. I didn't answer. I didn't open a single message. I just blocked them all. Every number, every email, every handle. Gone. No more reaching in. No more demands wrapped in concern. The only voice they'd hear from me now would be the one backed by facts, by footage, by legal boundaries, and by silence. Because silence, when it's intentional, becomes power. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to explain. They had finally noticed my absence, but only because something they assumed was theirs had been taken away. No one spoke after I said it. I haven't even lived there for 6 weeks. The words just hung there suspended above the chicken and half-full wine glasses like smoke after a small explosion. Brianna's fork hovered mid-air, a piece of asparagus trembling on the edge. My mother, Linda, blinked first. Wait. What? I didn't rush. I let the question settle. I've been gone, I said, for 6 weeks. I moved out the night she threw that party. The one with the body shots and the broken lamp. My father, Richard, set down his knife. That's not Catherine, no one knew. That's the point, I said. No one noticed. Brianna laughed under her breath, then quickly stopped when she saw my eyes. I reached into my coat pocket and placed a sealed envelope onto the tablecloth. The sound it made was soft, but somehow louder than anything else in the room. "What's that?" my mother asked. "Evidence," I said. "Footage, screenshots, copies of the complaint she signed with my name, a full list of the items she sold." Brianna's face went flat. "You were spying on me." "No," I said without raising my voice. "I was protecting what I built." Uncle Tom glanced from me to the envelope, unsure whether to laugh or look away. "You got her kicked out," my mother said, her voice tight. I looked at her. "I sent it to my landlord. He handled it. She was never on the lease. You could have told us," Richard said. "You could have warned her. You all made decisions about my home without me," I said. "She was already living there before you asked. And not one of you noticed I wasn't." My cousin Jessica furrowed her brow. "Wait, you weren't living there?" I turned to Brianna. "You moved in, trashed the place, threw parties, sold my things. You forged my name, and none of you even thought to check if I was okay." Brianna's voice cracked. "You're making a scene." "No," I said. "I'm making a boundary." I stood slowly, not with drama, but with purpose. This dinner wasn't about seeing me. It was about cleaning up the mess you didn't want to admit was real. My mother started to rise. "Catherine, please." But I was already walking to the door. Behind me, chairs creaked, utensils clinked against china, and the room once full of small laughter folded into something brittle. Before I stepped out, I paused at the threshold. This family only checks in when they need something. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I was gone for 6 weeks, and all anyone ever asked me tonight was if Brianna could stay longer. Then I left them there, choking on the silence they had taught me to live in. Brianna was evicted 2 days after the dinner. Mr. Jenkins didn't care how many tears she faked or how many times she tried to claim she'd been helping with rent. The footage spoke louder than anything she could say. So did the complaint with my handwriting on it. She didn't go quietly. The texts came first, blocks of rage, all caps, sentence after sentence that read, more like screaming than writing. "You ruined my life, you're petty, you've always been jealous." I didn't respond. Then came the voicemails, some tearful, some threatening, most incoherent. She said she'd tell everyone the truth about me. She never said what that truth was. I still didn't flinch. Instead, I filed a police report for the missing items: my monitor, the guitar, the watch. I submitted the footage and copies of receipts. I forwarded it all to my renter's insurance, and they opened a claim within 48 hours. Brianna's full legal name was now attached to an active investigation. I didn't do it to destroy her. I did it to draw the line. She had crossed it too many times. This was the only language anyone seemed willing to listen to. The ripple effect came fast. Someone maybe from the landlord's office tipped off the boutique where she worked part-time. 2 days later, she was let go. Her Instagram, once all brunch filters and girl boss captions, went dark. Comments disappeared. The curated version of herself cracked under the weight of what she'd actually done. Then came the voicemail from my mother. Her voice was low-tired. "She's your sister, Catherine. You've always been the strong one. Can't you just fix this quietly?" I didn't reply. I sent her a screenshot instead, one from Brianna's group chat the week she moved in. "He's such a loser. Doesn't even know I basically own his apartment now. Whatever. He'll probably thank me for giving it some life." Underneath, I wrote one line. "This is who you protected." She never responded. For the first time, my silence didn't mean I was afraid. It meant I was done. It was Richard who called. His voice cracked around the edges. I hadn't heard it in weeks. "Your mother's not doing well," he said. "You should come home." I didn't ask questions. I booked a flight. Not because I missed them, not because I wanted closure, but because I needed to see her once more before I shut that door for good. When I stepped into the house, nothing had changed. The same floral wallpaper, the same chipped paint on the hallway trim, the same dusty photos of Brianna on every shelf. And Brianna was there, sitting on the couch eating chips, watching reality TV like she hadn't stolen a year of my life. Like we were still just sisters, like nothing had happened. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, stranger." I didn't answer. I looked down the hallway. The bedroom door was ajar. I could see a sliver of my mother's figure beneath the blanket. Her body looked smaller, pale, fading. Brianna laughed nervously. "Aren't you going to come say hi?" I stepped back. "No," I said, quiet, steady. I already said everything I needed to. Her smile fell. "You're still holding a grudge," she scoffed. "Grow up, Catherine." I turned to Richard. He hadn't said a word since I arrived. "Tell her I said goodbye," I said. Then paused. For real this time. And I walked out. No slamming doors, no speeches. Just the sound of my footsteps leaving the place where I had waited too long to be seen. Because closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes it's just a closed door. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't sharp. It was measured. Folded quietly with the same hands that had once reached out for their approval and never found it. I didn't include a return address. It began simply, "Dear Mom and Dad, for years I begged for respect quietly. I let my voice drown beneath Brianna's chaos, beneath your excuses. You only saw me when I was useful. You told me to be the bigger person so often I started believing being small was my purpose. You chose noise over peace, applause for the storm while ignoring the shelter. When she lied, you defended. When I broke, you told me to hold it together. But now I choose myself. I'm not bitter. I'm done. This isn't punishment, it's preservation. I'm building a life where my worth doesn't have to scream to be seen. Catherine. No signature flourish, just truth. I didn't leave to be missed. I left so they'd stop pretending I was ever really there. Some of us learn too late that silence isn't kindness, it's permission. That being the strong one only means they think you'll never walk away. But I did. And now the only seat I fill is mine. If you've ever been the one they forgot to notice, if your absence spoke louder than your cries ever did, you don't need to explain it all. Just leave a dot, a single one, to say I was here. I saw this. I understand.